Hey everybody, I wanted to make a video about Game of Thrones. I try to keep it a short video. I'm rewatching Game of Thrones and I don't know what this says about me, but the older I get, the more I rewatch Game of Thrones, which it's only the third time and it's not like anybody watches anything when they're younger. Everyone's older when they rewatch a series. And this is my third, actually I think maybe my fourth time total. The first time, third or fourth time that I'm rewatching it. And I don't know if this is good or bad, but I feel every time I watch it, I like Cersei Lannister more and more. I can't help it. And does that make me a bad person? I like her. I respect her. And I think she's so beautiful. I love her face. It is just so captivating. But I just like Cersei. I do. And I can't help it. But that's not why I wanted to make this video. I think I'm the only person on the planet who actually likes how Game of Thrones ended. I've never talked to somebody else who likes the ending of Game of Thrones, and I do. And I kind of want to talk about it because it just seems fitting with the times that we are living in. Because my big takeaway from it, in a word, is destiny, you know? And I think about this kind of stuff a lot, like what is destiny? And if there is a destiny, and I feel like there is, it's like that Forrest Gump thing where it's, you don't know what you're going to get, but also it's like there seems to be like some things that you were destined to get, you know? Um, I think it's a combination of both, but it makes me kind of question free will. And the way I look at life is if everything is destined, or if the big things are destined, or even some things, if anything is destined at all, then why not just like reach for the stars every single time? And if you create your own destiny, and if you have more autonomy, or if you really can like navigate, why not reach in the same direction, like as far as you can, northward always, But like, that's why I love Game of Thrones. I don't understand why people hate on it. And for one, like, in its defense, it's kind of was a man, that was like a rock and a hard place. You take this incredible work and world and characters, and they were so rich that were created. And it's not even like, I don't know, the dragons, I could honestly take or leave them, but it is cool that they incorporated dragons and they weren't like corny. The Night King, the zombies, like even that hierarchy, that this like army of the dead had these leaders, and they were like super badass. And like, take away the zombies, take away the dragons, and it was just like about human nature in this very fantastical world. And it was these everybody was so complex. Even like Littlefinger, I kind of look at him like Cersei, although I don't like him as much, but there's like this respect for the character there because he's like a true politician through and through. And so you have this like one of like the richest stories ever to have been told, and you do an incredible job adapting it to this series that is one of the greatest series and adaptations to have ever been created. And then you get to the ending and it's like, man, now it's just like, take your best shot because there is no ending. So, you have to cut them slack. Even if you absolutely cannot stand how Game of Thrones ended, it's not like they had the source material to work with. And people who don't like the ending, which, like I said, is everybody online. I literally haven't talked to anybody else, even like online talking, who enjoyed how Game of Thrones ended. But the comments I have seen personally, I've seen several comments where people say, Jon Snow should have been like the king or whatever. And I saw one comment the other day, and it had like, a handful of likes that said, oh, it would have been cool if Cersei had been like the equivalent of the Mad King and Jaime would have had to kill her like he did the Mad King. But it's like, that doesn't make any sense. I can't think of a scenario that makes any sense other than what happened, because that is what this show is about, destiny. At the beginning, John was like, I want to be like my Uncle Benjen. I want to go, be a ranger with the Night's Watch. And, that's what he wanted to do. And he always was like this incredible human, but he kind of felt like an outcast, at his core. Jaime, he had this incredible arc in his story, but at the heart of his story, at his core, he loved Cersei. And no matter how much he evolved or how much of a good man he became, he could not, that was his beating heart, was Cersei. Nothing was going to be, no, he could not evolve beyond that. All of the characters, Arya, she was, a little girl, like hitting bullseyes. Everybody, it's like it was meant to happen the way it happened. And I believe that that Daenerys unintentionally killed Khal Drogo, her first husband, and her baby. I don't think she did it intentionally. I think it was unintentional. But I think something deeper inside of her knew that they had to die, because she couldn't live and, rise to her potential if she was always in the shadow of her husband and then in the shadow of her son. She had to get rid of them, even though she didn't know that's what she was doing and she was trying to help. I don't think she had any intention other than trying to help, but still, they had to go. It's like everything that happened was a setup, and it came together beautifully. And at the end, she wanted to break the wheel. She wanted to break the system. She didn't just want to sit on the Iron Throne anymore. That wasn't her destiny, was just to, be the queen and sit on the Iron Throne. Her destiny was to break the wheel. She is part dragon. She has like literally like, dragon's blood or whatever. She is untouchable with fire. She's this like incredible woman who can do all these things, but to have what she had to have and did have to get in the position to break the wheel, she couldn't have been sane. She couldn't have not snapped. If she would have been sane, then it would have been like the wheel would have continued, because if she would have been the greatest ruler of all time, if Jon would have been a great king, the wheel would have continued, eventually her children, his children, whoever came after them. And, you can't break it. The wheel is the matrix. It's life, you can't break it forever, but to really even just like change the foundation of how the world runs, it's not going to be, you can't just have like the same old people in there. She can't just have been like, oh, well, that case closed, now what, she's going to be queen of the world. And then like, he had to kill her. I just don't understand like what people wanted to happen. The only thing at all that irked me about it, she had to snap, to break the wheel, to accomplish her destiny, to fulfill her destiny, to rise, not just to the Iron Throne, but to break the whole motherfucking system. She had to, she was too powerful. She was like the dragon at her core. She was too powerful and too much power. And Jon was the only one on the planet who could have said, okay, you fulfilled your destiny. That was what she wanted to do, was to break it. She did that. He had to kill her for it to be that final like snap. of the system. And then at the end, he goes to where he always wanted to go. It's in the beginning. I do wish that Tyrion or somebody would have said, to Jon, like behind a closed door, like, look, you're going to be relegated to the wall. You killed the queen. There has to be some type of pay for this. But, don't even worry. Don't even worry about it. After like 2 weeks, everybody's going to kind of disperse and go back to like start their own lives. So don't even worry about it. You're not really going to have to stay there for any length of time because, he shouldn't have been banished forever. And it was just like, honestly, by the end, the Unsullied were kind of annoyed me because he was just like so simplistic about it. Like, oh, he killed her queen. He killed her queen. It's like, yeah, motherfucker, because she was crazy. Like, he was just like so loyal and he was just like brain dead. He couldn't see, wow, this bitch has snapped. She has lost her mind. If we don't kill her now, if she lives through this, she's just going to be a true dictator of the world and, fulfill the destiny of her father. I mean, I just love it. I love how it like comes down to that. That's the kind of feeling that I have with life, with all this crazy shit going on. It's a weird balance when you think about it. Like you can feel it, like this pull of the way that things are happening. And as you see them happening, if you kind of take a step back and look at the world, it's like, it's the only thing that could have happened. And you can kind of see these events unfolding and you can see how they're like lined up to unfold in a certain way. But then you can always say, no matter how chaotic this gets, I still can make a choice in this moment to do what I choose to do. And, it doesn't have to be these like simplistic no choice choices of left or right, up or down, red or blue, right or left. It doesn't, two choices is no choice at all. The choices are infinite and the answers are infinite. And that is where like our autonomy comes in. But I don't know. Will somebody tell me if they liked how Game of Thrones ended? Like what? Jon did not want his, he did not want to be king. And you could say, well, that's why he would have been the best king. But still, it's just like deeper than that. She broke the wheel. It would have been all for naught that she accomplished everything. She was ruler of the world. But if he would have just then been like, okay, well, she's out of the picture next, even if Jon was obviously like the best traditional candidate, he would have been a great king, but he didn't want it. But that's kind of irrelevant to the point of she would have died in vain if he just would have then sat on the Iron Throne because the wheel would have not been even dented. It had to be broken. She had to break it. She had to be who she was to break it. And that means that she had to go because she was just absolutely drunk on her own power. And she had this like brain dead Unsullied army who's just like, oh, yes, queen. Who do you want us to kill next? I mean, God, they were annoying me at the end. She killed our queen. It's like, shut the hell up. I don't know why. That just like always irked me so much. And I know like they were soldiers and she had liberated them. So I understand why like they had such an allegiance to her. But still, I mean, she was going to be a dictator of the world. And also, with Jon killing her, and that's why the dragon, because he did have partial dragon's blood in him, he wasn't a full Targaryen, obviously, but he was half. And his dad, as it turned out, that's why the dragon didn't kill him. I just thought that was beautiful. And he ended up exactly where he was meant to be. And then the wall was gone. And eventually it will, just like life, go back to where, he has the blood of the first man in him. And now he's back, north of the wall. And eventually there is going to be a wall go up. But I don't know. Will somebody like tell me if you liked how Game of Thrones ended? Will you like comment? And if not, what do you think should have happened? Because I cannot think of anything better. I thought it was beautiful that Jaime died, holding Cersei. I don't know. It just was so incredibly fitting. Like I said, I wish they would have told Jon, yeah, you're going to be relegated to the wall, but don't even worry about it because this shit's a bust. The Unsullied and the Dothraki are going to go back to wherever and do whatever. So it's not like they're going to be enforcing shit anyway. The way the dragon, took off with her, I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I don't understand all the hate, but I think that's all I'm going to say. Y'all have a good night.